Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you see this. This is Dee with Older INFP-A Assertive Insights. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about perception is reality. I talked about that several years ago when I was talking about dementia. Just telling a story about my mom and dementia and how we could help. Yeah, we'll talk about perception is reality, and that will be for INFPs, and also it's going to be for people who want to know more about, who are not INFPs, who want to know more about INFPs for whatever reason. I do want to say I'm in the dark on purpose. I was trying to buy a house last summer. This is an aside. I was trying to buy a house last summer, and it kind of didn't work out because I want my own place, but I love fireplaces. I love wood-burning fireplaces. But it didn't work out, and I'm stuck here in the old folks' home. I live in a senior apartment complex, so I like the apartment, but I don't like it being all seniors. I don't like the location. It's a lot. But, so I thought, well, I'm not going to get my fireplace, but I want to show my fireplace. That's my Christmas present to myself right there. Whoop. It is a fake fireplace. It's, does have a heater. It's a heater, but I don't have the heat on. But it works. It calms me. So I just want to show you my fireplace. It's about the size of a microwave. But hey, I'm not going to complain. So this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do a couple of videos that have been on my mind for several weeks now. This one is perception is reality. INFPs already know that we think differently than the rest of the world, and we do think differently, and I'm not going to get into cognitive stacks. If you're new to this channel by any stretch of the imagination, I don't get into all the theories, all the intellectualization of INFP. It is about anything INFP and everything INFP, but I've talked about it broadly from a psychological perspective and also from experience, all combined. So, yeah. So what do I mean by perception is reality? Well, as I said, INFPs, we think differently, and it's because, by Myers-Briggs, if you go by any of them, we are a rare personality type. A lot of us are neurodivergent. That's a new word here, a new word in the last few years. Neurodivergent. Interestingly enough, I was going to do a video about this, but I don't have enough to say. But interestingly enough to me, I am a member of a Facebook group for women who were diagnosed later in life as being either autistic or having ADHD or both. So I joined it because I have ADHD only. And so I joined it. So somebody did a poll, and there are several thousand women in there. They did a poll about what MBTI type were they, which I thought was interesting, kind of funny. Not funny, haha, but just funny, you know. I'm like, oh, well, I'm an MBTI person, so I want to see. I read the comments first. I thought there's going to be a lot of NFs in here. There'll be a lot of NFs in here. Most of them, actually, that I read, I did not read all of them because they were in the hundreds. But the most I read, there were some thinkers in there. But INFJ came in first, and I say probably INFP, wouldn't they? But they were NFs. A lot of INFPs, but more INFJs, but which was not surprising to me. So getting back to what perception is reality, is that we're high incidences of not thinking like the world wants us to think. We don't think like standardized tests. We don't think like rules and regulations that everybody has and goes by. For whatever reason, and even if you don't have any of, you don't have autism, you don't have ADHD, you don't have anything of the sort, you're just an INFP, you do think differently from the rest of the world, majority of the rest of the world, because you're a cognitive stack. And I think mainly it's, to me, it's a combination, but to me, and my favorite one is the extroverted intuition, because I love it, and my brain has like a million options running in layers all the time. So that's how I got the ADHD diagnosis, because I can't organize my brain or anything. But it's INFP. So yeah, so when somebody says, so INFPs, we are made to feel bad, to shame's a good word people use, shame ourselves, we're being shamed, we don't want to speak up, we have to filter through our words before we do speak up, because we don't know how it's going to be taken. And I still do that. I mean, right now at my age, I really don't care that much. I blurt things out that I wouldn't have years ago when I was younger. But now I still have it where I say things and then I can tell by people's reactions that, ooh, that didn't land right. I still have that and still experience it. But I don't feel shame about it anymore. I don't feel guilty about it anymore. I own it. That's who I am, and if it doesn't land right, it doesn't land right, and I learned from that, but I learned from that with that person. Well, that's not something I can talk about with that person. So we're always filtering. But it's our reality, and I've been told a lot, growing up, well, only you would think of that. Only you would think of something like that. Not in a good way, but yeah, because we are creative. And I was going to give the example, actually I was going to give the example, about the sky being blue, if we say the sky is purple, then that's our reality. It's our perception, so it's reality to us, and don't try to change our mind about it. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, the sky actually is all colors. I thought, what color can I use except blue? And I thought orange, and I thought red, and I thought purple, and I thought black, and I thought no, the sky's. Then I thought rainbow, and so see, that's how, I can't use that as an example, but if you have an example that you can share as an INFP that you think of, put it in the comments, because right now I can't think of one. For an INFP, but whatever we should say, because I think everything is just who the person is. I don't think anything is inappropriate that much. I might not agree with it or say it, but it doesn't mean that person doesn't have a right to do that. That's them, and then I just go from there. But yeah, so what we perceive and how we perceive the world is not like, well, only you would think of that. Yeah, well, maybe only me would think of that, because I have a lot of options in my brain, running through my brain, from the extroverted intuition and that type thing. So that is my reality, and each one of us is individual, so we're going to have our own reality. So you're not going to know, well, what is the I and it? What is she talking about? Well, I think I'm getting to the point. But with INFPs, you're not going to know a list. Like, here are 5 things to know about what INFPs perceive in the real world that the rest of us don't. Because we're all individuals. We are all different. That's why you stay confused if you're not an INFP. Hear me out. Believe this. What it works for one is not going to work for another one necessarily, but it's our reality. Now I'll give you a more concrete answer that you might be able to understand better, and that would be with people with dementia, and I've had a lot of that in my family. I know with my mom, I was the only one in the family that did this, as I played along with her. And then I read an article later about that's how you do deal with people with dementia. That's why a lot of times they get irritable If they say, like if they say today's Monday and today is Wednesday, a lot of people, particularly family members, would try to correct them and say, no, don't you remember today is Wednesday, today is the day we're doing, no, today's Monday, and then it just starts back and forth. You're not going to convince them. My mother, one time I went to see my mother, and she was probably in her mid-stage of dementia. Looking back on it, she's been deceased now for quite a while, almost a decade. But in her kind of her mid-range dementia, when she was still talking, walking, and you had to really know her to know that she wasn't saying things that were really not reality, but it was her reality, her perception. Like one time I went to see her, and she was in assisted living, and I went to see her, and I asked her what she'd been doing, and she was like, well, she had company, and she talked about her brother and sister-in-law came to visit, and now her brother and sister-in-law had been dead for years, and they were not around, so I knew that they did not really, the reality of it, they did not come yesterday to visit, but that's her reality, that's her perception. So it's a reality, so I went with it. And I said, well, how are they doing? And we had a conversation about it. And there was no tension, there was nothing, no misunderstanding. I went with her reality, which is her perception. And after a few minutes, she came back to reality as we knew it. And she changed the subject. But that was her reality. She perceived that in her brain, that her brother and sister-in-law came to visit, and we talked about the visit, even though they really, really did not. So that's the best concrete example I can think of. This part is for people who are not INFPs, who deal with INFPs or want to get to know INFPs. Don't argue with us. Whatever we say, I mean, you can say, like data. I'm not talking about data and facts and historical information that 100%. I'm not talking about that type of information. I'm just talking about how they see the world if they come up with something. Try to understand it. If you can't understand it, just go along with it. It's just going to be irritating, and we're going to stand our ground. That's our values talking. This introverted, we lead with introverted feeling, which is values driven, not emotion, but values driven. And we are going to be stubborn as everything if you keep on demanding that we change our mind about what the reality is. Just go with the flow, and we'll get back to it later. And that's just the way it is. So let me know what you think. Each person's perception is their reality. So I think that's how we can better get along with each other. So until next time, I want everybody to stay safe.